A very good morning to all. I welcome all the eminent speakers and academicians for this second cloud-based international conference. Myself, Desam Sudhakar, author of Audiovisuals and Chemistry, and Dr. Ramesh are presenting a paper entitled Pros and Cons of E-Learning by Children in Rural Areas During Lockdown Situation and Ways to Empower It. Abstract. E-learning for children in rural and remote areas during lockdown is beyond reach for many as they are deprived of good internet facilities. Among rural students, primary health remains the key concern, and thus the stress on e-learning becomes prerequisite during the COVID-19 crisis. Few key points discussed are the perspectives of online education, the pros and cons of e-learning and the ways to empower it is discussed in this paper. Introduction. India is a developing country with more than 50% of country's young population is under the age of 25 years, having largest education system in the world comprising of 15 crore schools, around 37,000 colleges and more than 600 universities. The student population accounts to 315 million, pursuing education from nursery to PhD. After the outbreak of coronavirus pandemic, in order to protect our students, they are asked to leave their hostels and return to their villages. Lack of effective internet connectivity and technological tools was a curse among rural students, as classroom was a place of practice of freedom and expression. In India, even though digital inclusion may be on the rise, digital empowerment is a big challenge that needs to be conquered. Further, lack of English language proficiency or expertise in regional languages among rural students makes it very difficult for them to access information through internet. Let us discuss about the concept of e-learning. E-learning may be defined as the acquisition of knowledge using electronic devices with the help of internet. The types of e-learning. Synchronous training is a mode of education wherein a teacher can directly interact with the students using digital technologies like Zoom and Skype. A virtual classroom is a classroom wherein students can access education from quality teachers across the planet using platforms like video and audio conferencing, interactive whiteboards, library resources like print, video and audio, and also teacher tools and controls. Asynchronous learning is a method wherein students will be able to access digital content, complete their assignments at their own convenient time and place without the help of an instructor. Embedded learning is a method wherein education is taught by the teacher using visual models. Health of students versus stress on e-learning. During coronavirus outbreak, in order to safeguard health of lakhs of students, governments have imposed lockdown measures like social distancing, limiting movements, closure of schools and colleges. Closure of schools and colleges have stressed the governments to promote education via e-learning mode to make our country better what is today. In this current health crisis, all students should embrace e-learning ways of learning and be prepared for future disruptions similar to COVID. Perspectives of online education. During this outbreak, all the parties, bureaucracy, school education departments, and colleges in India unanimously decided to deliver education to students through e-learning on experimental basis. But it has few adverse effects which include disruption in lesson plans, continuation of old structure information, breakage of teacher-child-parent interaction, and finally students are facing difficulty in preparation of annual board examinations. During this lockdown, various education startups have begun encouraging students to pursue online education and continue learning in order to avoid wastage of time. Among the existing edtech companies, some of these organizations have digital platforms, few have good quality content, while some are heavily dependent on internet. Here, the advantage to run these online platforms remains with the schools. It has been noted that not even one government school seems to have adopted online e-learning mode of education for the dissemination of knowledge. Some of the disadvantages of incorporating online platforms alternative to schooling are: it is very discretionary and restricted to few private schools who can afford the program, non-standardized, and hence teaching approach may vary from school to school, and finally it is accessible only to privileged students due to unstable internet connectivity. Learning platforms changing Indian scenario. With high-speed internet, e-learning platforms has taken over traditional methods in urban areas in particular, and the same needed to be extended to rural and remote areas. E-learning during lockdown, not for all. Amidst the national lockdown, schools are launching apps, connecting classes over Google Hangouts or Zoom platforms, and sending interactive worksheets and videos for learning. Even though internet-based teaching is the most appropriate stopgap arrangement now, it has highlighted huge inequalities in education systems according to Indian Internet Report 2019 of IAMAI and Nielsen. E-learning and ways to empower it. Government needs to strengthen capacity building measures in rural areas. This may be done by conducting sensitization workshops on developing minimum IT skills via PowerPoint presentations to the teachers for enabling them to develop pictorial content to make content attractive to the students. Measures are needed to be taken to increase the bandwidth in rural areas for good internet access, which is a prerequisite for e-learning. Thirdly, teachers need to utilize inexpensive national electronic mediums like televisions. By using radio devices, teacher can develop cost-effective courses which would aid in empowering education for rural students. Finally, learner engagement tools like game-based tools, apps are needed to be developed for empowering effective knowledge management. Conclusion. According to NSSO survey 2017-2018, nearly 45% of Indian population above 15 years is either literate or has just attended formal primary education. Particularly in remote areas, almost 70% of people above 15 years are either non-literate, have education only up to middle school. This section may not have the required level of education to teach their children at their homes, not afford to provide internet facilities in view of their poor financial status. Strengthening capacity building measures, increasing internet bandwidth, utilizing electronic devices effectively are few measures to empower e-learning among the students in remote and rural areas. Finally, I would like to thank Dr. Sridhar Sheshadri, eminent speakers and jury members for giving me this opportunity to present this paper.